What we're going to talk about now is the categories of tasks. Generally speaking, I've divided up the tasks into various categories. The tasks of the games into various categories. The first one is a continuous movement where the task is giving you instructions to do a continuous cyclical movement or to get to a particular object and then move on to the next object and then get to the object and move on to the next, and each one is the task which is setting where the object is going to be next, the objective and where you have to get to. A non-continuous task is where you have more of a choice, where you have a time to decide on which object to get to, and you can communicate which object you can get to with the person giving you active assist. So you have time to stop and decide for yourself which object to get to. You will have a choice of objects to get to. And we have tasks that allow us to flip between the maximum range of motion in either a flexion or an extension, or from one side to the other. And we have this task that give you feedback or movement biofeedback for two directions of movement. Now let's look at that in a bit more detail. So if we have a look at continuous tasks, where the next hole is not where you are going to have to arrive to get the ball through the hole in the helix jump is not defined with you. You have to get there. The software, the task is telling you where to go to, okay? You have to go here, okay? However, you have some time. You can stop during the helix and then make your decision to move to the direction that the task wants you to get to. So that's an example of a continuous task, okay? You're not making a decision on where to get to your object. You don't have to necessarily communicate. If someone is doing you the active assist, you can both see and you can both get to it. And that's the racing task is a typical example. You have to get around the next car. So you know where you have to go to. You have less chance to stop, because if you stop, you'll crash. So you haven't got a chance to stop where you're under no pressure and then move to the object. And the same with the tracker target. If you stop, you're going to go out of the task. So that's why it's a continuous task. The same as the falling cloud. If you stop, you're going to hit the cloud and you're going to lose points. So these are an example of continuous tasks. However, if you slow down the tasks, for instance, the helix jump, if you slow it down, the movement, you have more time to make a decision and more time to communicate. And also in the helix, you have a couple of points where you can go down. So you have a choice. So you can make a decision. So they're not exactly categoric distinctions between the tasks. If you slow down the tasks, obviously you have more time to stop and think and decide and communicate where you want to go to. An example of the non-continuous tasks are the arithmetic tasks. You can stop, you can decide which sign you want to go to, you're under no pressure to get to the sign, you can communicate which sign you want to go to, and then you can initiate that movement. The same with finding the next ring. You can stop, you're not going to be penalized, you can stop between these pegs, and then you can make a decision on where you want to go. Again, with the duck hunter, you can stop, you have a certain amount of time that the duck rests, and if you don't get it, you'll move on to the next one. But you can stop, you're not penalized, and you can go to the next color. So we're moving here from non-continuous to continuous, depending on the difficulty setting. The bubble shooter as well, on a very slow setting, where you have a lot of time to make your decision, where you're not going to be penalized, the bubbles are not going to fall down, is a non-continuous task. But if you speed it up, it can become a continuous task. Then we have the games or the tasks, which are two-directional. And that includes the fishing frenzy, the duck hunter, fruit squeeze, and memory order. So these are the tasks that can all be two-directional. So that's a category of tasks which you should, through practice, will bear in mind to achieve your objectives. Which is the best task to use to achieve your objectives? But if we're looking at clinical indications, and these are actually our objectives, then some tasks are better than others. For instance, we can use different tasks for balance. We can do different tasks for vestibular. We have different tasks with different degrees of cognitive movement ability involvement. We can have different tasks that we can better customize to functional movements. For instance, the tracker target is more easy to customize to functional movements because we can dictate exactly where we want to do that concomitant, for instance, elbow flexion while we're doing after a grip movement. And the same as accuracy. Certain tasks, you have to be more accurate. You have to have more fine movements, more precise movements to be able to achieve them. Now, so we have on the left-hand side here divided up the tasks into clinical applications. But each task works on several movement abilities, and certain tasks work on better on different movement abilities. So again, we can assess and we can decide: do we want to work on speed? Do we want to work on speed of movement, on range of motion? Do we want to work on coordination of movement? And once we've decided which ability we want to work on, we can then decide on which task to use and which task is better to use. And again, if we're using active assist techniques or functional electrical stimulation techniques, then we can choose certain tasks because they're better to use and more easy to customize the practice for the active assist techniques. And again, if we're looking at joint coordination, then the tasks which are 2D allows us to do more joint coordination.